Hello guys and welcome to Telex Academy. My name is Faisal and I'll be walking us through to the HTML and CSS web development course. So the first thing, what is HTML? We said HTML is an hypertext markup language. It is standard language used to create and design documents on the World Wide Web. It structures web content and organizes text, image, links, and other multimedia elements. And now what are the importance of HTML in web development? We say HTML is the foundation of all web pages. It defines the structure and layout of a web page. It is essential for creating web pages that are accessible, interactive, and engaging for our users. HTML also provides the basic framework upon which CSS, which is cascading style sheet, and JavaScript can actually build to enhance the appearance and functionality of web page. So basically, when we talk about HTML is just the structure of the whole website itself. Now, when trying to create a website or a web page or something, there are three main technologies that are needed. We need HTML, we need CSS, and we need JavaScript. So think about HTML as the structure, the building structure. Let's say, imagine buying a land, then now me building a structure there, let's say either with bricks, wood, or with glass, any one of it. This is just HTML. Now me coming there now, adding styles, adding tiles, adding paint, adding wallpaper, and the likes. This is CSS. And the last thing, which is JavaScript, me adding a door whereby I can actually lock or open. This is JavaScript. Anything that deals with functionality in that structure is JavaScript, and anything that deals with design in that structure is CSS. And the main structure itself now is is HTML. Now let's take a brief look at the brief history about HTML. So I could say this. So HTML versions, a brief history. So we said HTML 1.0 was created in 1991. The first version of HTML introduced by Tim Berners-Lee included basic elements like paragraphs, links, and headers. Then HTML 2.0 in 1995 added support for forms and tables, and HTML 3.2 in 1997 introduced support for applets, text flow around image, and scripting language. And HTML 4.01 in 1999 standardized the language and added support for multimedia frames and improved forms. Then XHTML was created, XHTML 1.0 in 2000, a stricter XML based version of HTML 4.0. Then we have the HTML5, which was introduced in 2014, the latest version of HTML actually. It introduced new semantic elements, multimedia support, and improved APIs for enhanced user experience. So let's jump into the main thing now. Now, before you can start with HTML now, you need to understand HTML actually follows a certain structure. Now, the very first thing you have is the doc type of HTML. Now, you're just letting that this type of document I'm actually trying to work on, or I'm actually creating is an HTML document. Now, as you can see now, you can see this guy, the HTML tag, the head tag, and the body tag. Now, basically, if you're working with HTML throughout, we're working with tags. And what are tags? Tags are markup codes enclosed in angular brackets. Now, any tag you see this way is an opening tag. Then any tag you see with a slash before the end is a closing tag. Now, HTML only has two tags, which is the head and the body tag. But inside the head and the body, there are different sub tags, right? So HTML, remember, HTML only has the head and the body. So the very first thing you have is the HTML, then you have the head, and you have the body. Now, when we talk about the head section of HTML now, there's only one tag in it that is visible to the user, which is the title tag. Now, the title tag is just like when you look at my face, let's say I'm HTML, my whole body is HTML, right? So it's structured into two parts: my head and my body. So my head now, you can actually see my eyes, nose, ear, mouth, and my hair, right? So every one of these guys I just mentioned now just serve as as the title. Now there's something else in my head whereby you can actually see, but you can actually see what it's actually doing, which is the brain, right? So every other tag in the X section, apart from the title, serves as the brain. An example of tags in the X section, we have the script, we have the no script, we have the style, we have the link, we have the meta, we have the base, we have what the title itself, right? So now the next thing now, the body. The body is what the body is the main part in which the user actually see. So in the body section now, we have different tags that actually what appears. Now let's see. So let's look at this common HTML elements. We have common HTML element that appears in the body section. We have the heading tag, H1 to H6, depending on how big or how small you actually want your text to look like. We have the P tag, which stands for what? The paragraph tag. We have the link tag, the A tag, the hyperlink tag. We have the image tag, img. We also have the list, whereby we're having the ul, ol, and what, and li. Now let's jump into the practical aspect to actually see what these guys are actually doing. So to begin, our advice is to actually start by creating a folder, so all our work is being structured. Now let's create a folder in my desktop area here. So new folder, let's call it web development. You can actually name it anything you choose. It doesn't need to be the same name as mine. So now I hope we all have Visual Studio Code installed. If you don't, you could just come to our browser and say, so we just say Visual sorry so we're having this. So you could just come and so what's Visual Studio Code itself? Visual Studio Code is an ID. And now an ID? An ID is an integrated development environment. What does it do? It helps us in like writing and editing our codes basically. So now we have different, so you can actually you can download for like different environments, either Windows, Linux, or Mac, depending on which OS you're actually using. Now let's come back to this now. So after we create our folder now, the next thing for us is to open Visual Studio Code once you have it installed. Okay. So I just come back here and say open folder. Now remember, the area where I actually created my folder now is my desktop area. So basically I just come back here to desktop, then I find my folder with development. So select folder. Now when we're working with HTML now, there's something we need to like save HTML with the extension of .html. Just like how do you identify a PDF file? You see like .pdf, an image, .jpeg, .png, and the likes. So for like audio, you see like .mp3, then for videos mp4, codec, hvec, and the likes. So the same thing with HTML. Is either you're saving to what .html or what .htm, depending on which one you actually prefer. So I could just say this. I could give it any name of my choice. I could say index.html. It doesn't need to be index, it could be any name. So I save, then it's helping me to create a file now. So to actually begin now, remember I said the very first thing we have is what is the doc type, right? Now I could say this, sorry, so I could say doc type of what HTML, right? Then the next thing I have is what? My HTML tag. Then in my HTML tag I have what? My head. Then the next thing I have is what? The body. Right? So now look at it this way. I just created a simple structure of the HTML. Right? Now if I don't want to go through this process, there's a way I can do it also with the help of Visual Studio. So let's say I highlight this and remove this. The moment I use shift, then this shift 1, creating exclamation mark, now it creates this sort of thing for me. Now remember, I said I already set things that appear in the S section. Let's say let me explain from the beginning. You understand this part where we talk about the doc type, document type as what? HTML, and the language, English. Then now I'm saying the head. Then inside the head I'm having what? Meta and what? And title. But now what is this meta? Basically the meta tag is an HTML element that provides metadata about the HTML document. This metadata is an information about the document that is not displayed on the page but is used by what? By browsers, search engines and other web services. So the main function of this meta tag is that it's actually a character set specification. It defines character encoding for HTML documents. In the example here, you see this meta char sets of what? UTF 8. Now this ensures that the browser correctly displays characters from various languages. Now the next one you see now is the what? Is the viewport. Is this guy actually what? Controls the layout of what? Of mobile browser. So it's this tag makes the what? The website responsive by adjusting the width of the page to what? To the screen size. So these are one of the few things this meta tag actually does. It also does the SEO, which is the search engine optimization. Now when we talk about the search engine optimization, it provides information to search engine about the contents of what? Of the page. A good description can actually help improve the page visibility in search engine results. So this is one of the reasons why meta is being this is one of the main reasons why meta is actually what? Being added to what? Our tag from the beginning. Now let's proceed to the body section, whereby we're working with different tags like the H1 to H6, the P tag, the hyperlink and the list. Now the first one we're working with the H1 to H6 now. So say we have the H1, right? Now in between it I write the text I want for it to appear. So I write my name. I can say H2, okay, H3, let's say hello world, H4, let's say hello world also, H5. You can write different text. Don't need to follow what I'm actually doing, but just follow the same structure, but you don't need to write the same words as mine. Now I have my H1 to H6. Now remember what I said the H1 is like the biggest text, while H6 is what? Is the smallest text. Now depending on how big or how small you actually want your text to look like, you actually use any of these guys. Now let's try to run it. Now to run it now, since you guys might not have this extension live server, just come here and say what? Reveal in File Explorer. But to actually get it, you can just come to this side bar here. Now click on extensions, then the extension you write live server. Internet, okay, this live server. So once you have it installed, it's actually more nice. You don't need to go back to your page and keep on refreshing. But for now, for us that don't have, we just do this and say what? Reveal in File Explorer. Now since it's an HTML file, automatically now it wants to open in your default browser. So anything .html only opens what? On the browser. Now to see the output, it's only on what? On the browser you can see it. Now let me use the live server. So open with live server. Now as you can see, you're having this h1. Let me zoom. h1, h2, h3, h4, h5, h6. h1 is the biggest, h2 a little bit big also, then h3, 4, 5, 6, depending on what you actually need. Now the next thing we have here now is what? Our paragraph. So now let's go back to our VS Code and see. So I could just create a paragraph here. Let's say p tag. So I could say hello and welcome to Telex Academy. My name is Faisal and I will be your for today. Right? So I just made a simple paragraph. Now if I come back to check the output of my code now, I could have this. So I'll be having this. Now as you can see, I'm saying welcome, hello and welcome to Telex Academy. My name is Faisal and I'll be your instructor for today. Now what if I wanted to add more? I could actually continue depending on me. So now let me use all these predefined words here, like dummy words. So I could say lorem. Now it's great, like all these Latin random words. Now I could have another one. Yeah. So let's come back now. So as you can see, I'm having what? My paragraph here. But now coming back here now, as you can see, there are spaces in between. But now those spaces are not showing. The more I even click on enter, still everything is still staying on that same line. Now how do I fix it? I need to use what? The BR tag, the break tag. Now if I add BR here, break, that's how it does this. It breaks it. As you can see, the hello word is staying different from what? The lorem. Now the same thing, if I do this for the lorem also, I want to make space between those two lorem. Yeah. Now the same way, this lorem also what? Breaks. Now the more BR you add, the more space you'll be actually what? Having. So the more the BR, the more space you keep on what? Having. So now if you want to use the BR, you can use something else also. You can use the what? HR. Now the HR is just like the BR, but the difference is that it actually what? Makes a line across the page when it breaks. Now watch this way. It breaks, then also what? Makes a line what? Across the page. That is the work of the what? HR. Whereas if you are using just the BR just breaks without what? Making a line across the page. But with the HR, it breaks, then also what? Makes a line across what? Across the page. Now the next thing we have there is the link tag. Now what's this link tag? How do we use it? Most of us have visited different websites, or let them say web pages, anyone. So now at some point you might want to navigate through the page. It could be like a single page, or it could be like any type of page. Let's just say this now. Now you might want to like go to like the home section, the about section, the contact section or something. How do you actually navigate from pages to pages like this? You need the what? The hyperlink tag. Now as you can see here now, you're having this, the A tag, then inside you're having what? An href. This href is what? Is an attribute. And what's an attribute? An attribute is a modifier for an HTML element that provides additional information about that certain what? Element. Now an attribute are always specified in the opening tag of an element and come in different names or value pairs. Now just like when you're seeing here, you're seeing href here and you're seeing src here. We all know that src stands for what? Source, right? Now for display we are seeing href. What's href? Basically href is an attribute that stands for hypertext reference. It is used in HTML to specify the URL of the what? Of the page or resource that a hyperlink points to. Now just like the source, the source is also specifying to what? A certain URL, right? The href is also doing the same. Now I'm saying this here, http://www.example.com. This is a what? A link. Now it means, imagine I was trying to like get to google.com or something. Now instead of me having this example here, I could just put to what? To Google, right? Automatically, once somebody clicks on this link, it takes the person to what? To Google. Why? Because I already specified in the href that I want you to take me to what? This certain URL. And what's the URL? Universal resource what? Locator. Now inside the image also needs a what? A source, right? Also a URL before it can actually what? Show you the image. Now inside this, now you are seeing what? ALT. What does this ALT stand for? This ALT stands for alternative text, meaning once this image is not visible, what should be shown to what? To the user. Now let's go back to our VS Code. So I can come back here now. Let's say I create a new file and I call it link.html, right? So I do the same thing here, shift 1, then enter. Now at this point now I have what? My hyperlink, the A tag, right? In between I'm having my href, then I say https. So I say https, then I finish / then I say google.com, right? Now I can say click me to visit Google. Now upon running this now, open live server. So I have this here, so let's click on this and see. Now it takes you what? To google.com. The same thing, if you want it to take you to a part of your page, now you just come back here. Let's say I want it to direct me back to this index page. Now I could just come here, let me remove this, then I could say index.html, right? Now if I come back to my page now, let's go back to it. Now let's refresh. Now I click on it, it takes me to what? Index.html rather than what? Google.com this time around. So this is how what this guy actually works. But there's more to it. Now you might have visited some sites whereby rather than opening that link on that same page or on that same tab for you, they actually what? Create a new tab for you. Now this is how it works. Let me turn this back to Google. Now this is how it works. To do that, you just say what? Target, the target attribute. Then now you have what? Blank, right? Now I put what? I want it what? I want the target to be what? A blank tab entirely. So now I just come back here, then once I click on this guy again, rather than opening on that same page, this is that page, instead it created what? A new page for me, a new tab for me entirely. Now so I can't go back or forward because this is a new tab, right? So the moment I click on it, it creates a what? A new tab for me always. This is how the target actually what? Works. Now let's move to the next part of what? Adding image. Now to add image, now you can actually bring the image into your folder, or if you're not doing this now, you can actually do something else whereby you actually bring in the image. Let's say if you can get the link of the image online, you can just bring it here. So let's see, I think I have an image, I could bring it to my folder. So I just copied an image into our folder, so let me just rename it something simple. Say Umar, right? So now I can now do this for the image. Now I say what? img, the image tag. Then inside you can see two things, the src and the what? ALT. Now the src stands for what? Source, while the ALT stands for what? Alternative what? Text. Now if I put the source now, Omar does what? Does png. Then I put this now a now this is just telling me what the image is about if this image is not what? Visible to the user. Now let's check back and see what we have. Now as you can see, I'm having this picture of what? Of Omar here. Now if I come back here now, let's say I'm having Omar, right? Now instead of saying Omar, I put Omar's. I don't have anything called Omar's here, true of us. Now at this point now, this image is not what, it cannot be found. What will be shown to the user? This, a disappointed what, face. Now if I come back here now, as you can see, you're seeing this icon of an image, but saying what, a disappointed face. This only appears when the image is not what, is not visible to what, to the user. So the next part we have now, but before we get there, now if you notice, this img tag doesn't have a closing tag, right? Just like the way the br and the hr doesn't have a closing tag. So there are some tags that don't actually come with closing tag. Like it's not really important to actually add them since you're doing HTML5. Things like hr, br, img, and the likes. You get me? So now the next part we'll be looking into now is lists. Now list dot what, html. Now I can also do the same thing here. Now when we talk about lists, now we know it's just a way of like making things in an ordered or an unordered manner. Now the same thing now for the list. Now we have different things. We have the we have mainly two types of lists. We have the ordered and unordered lists. We also have the definition list or descriptive list. Now the ordered list is a type of list whereby I want everything to appear in what, in an ordered manner. Whereas the unordered list now is a type of list whereby I don't really want you to follow a certain order to actually see the list. Most time, like, you know, when I put a list like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 means I want you to like follow the steps. But if I'm putting like in a bulletin format now, it means it doesn't really need to be like, I don't really need to, your 1 doesn't need to be my 1, your 1 can be like my 5 or something. But if I'm putting like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it means my 1 must be your 1, my 2 must be your 2, and the likes. So let's see how this actually works. So okay, it was generated for me. So I'm having this and on that list. Okay, nice. So my closing tag of this. Now if we were to run this and see, we'll be having something like this. Now as you can see, we're having what, different fruits, but what, in an unordered format, ul. But now what's the main thing that's making the list to happen? This is it, the li tag. Now imagine me saying let's say h2 here, types of fruit. Now imagine me come here now and I'm saying ol, right, ordered list. Now the next thing for me to do now is like li, which is what, the list itself. The ol is just letting the browser know that I want this list to appear in what, in an ordered manner. Then when you are saying ul, you're letting the browser know that I want this list to appear in what, in an unordered manner. The ul stands for what, ordered. The ul stands for what, unordered. So when you use any of these guys now, you're letting the browser know that I want the list in me to appear in what, either ordered or what, unordered. The main tag that is creating the list is what, is the what, li tag, and by default the li tag normally comes out in what, in ul format, in an unordered format. Now let's use this guy. So sorry, so I'll say li, let's say things h2, things to get the market. So say rice, sorry, li beans, li fish, li meat, and the likes. So if we come back here now, we'll be having this. So now as you can see, things to get from the market, I'm having like number 1 as what, rice, 2, 3, because what, I'm using what, ol, ordered list. But if I'm using unordered, the ul now, it makes it come out in what, in bulletin what, format. So after this, the next part we look into now is the form aspect of what, HTML. Now what's a form? A form is just a container in which we use in collecting information from our users. Now we have the main element of forms in HTML. We have the input, we have the text area, we have the button, and we also have what, the select. Now You visit different websites, or let's say different web page, or you use different application whereby they want you to actually sign up before you actually use the application. Now they provide you to what, a form to actually what, fill. Now let's see how the form actually works. So let's create a new file and call it form.html, right? So now I will say this. Now the very first thing you need is what, the form tag itself, right? Now for now, this action you're seeing here, you can forget about it, is when you're trying to like integrate to the backend. Now inside the form, now we have different things. We have things like label. Now when we talk about label is just letting you know this is what you actually what meant to put here. Imagine when you get a notebook, you get to on the front page of the notebook, you have like the right name, then they leave like a box for you to actually write your name. Now that name that is there actually stands for what, the label, letting you know what you actually what input into this place. Now the next thing we have now is the what, the input. Now what's this input? The input is just the box that allows you to what, write things into it. Now the label, you're not actually writing anything inside the label. You're actually just, the label is just telling you what to put inside what, this input box. Whereas the input now is the box that actually what collects the information for you, right? Now under this input, now we have different types. We have the text, we have the email, we have the password, right? We have the date, we have the we have file, we have different whole lot of things under the input types. Now there are some boxes that just, when I say the input type of, let's say, text, is just specified on collect what, any type of uniset text, can collect like letters, number, everything together, right? When we use email now, you visit some websites whereby when they ask you to put your email, let's say you forgot to fill the words, let's say so you didn't add like at and the something.com, right? It just returns you back that this place must contain what, an email. Now for the password, now most website where you visit today, depending on your browser, do so. Once you're trying to like put in your password or something, now it doesn't show it to you, it shows you like dot and the rest. This is the work of the what, input type of what, of password, right? Now imagine you wanted to put your date or birth, or you wanted to upload a file and the rest. This input type are what, are the ones that actually what, do it. Now here, now you can actually see something called what, placeholder, right? This name, you don't actually need it also for now. You could just do this, skip for now till you need it for the backend part. Also this ID is not really needed, but there's nothing wrong in leaving it though. Now, so as I was saying, now this part where you're having this placeholder, now what's this placeholder doing? This placeholder is just there for the meantime. It's just holding that box for you for the what, for the meantime. You visit some sites nowadays, most of them don't really use labels like that. They still use label, but not that much. So most of them just have what, placeholder, just letting you know what you're meant to put inside the input box. You already see like a writing there already. The moment you try to type anything, the writing inside what actually what disappears. That is the work of what, of a placeholder. So now let me try to add other things. Let's say I wanted let's see, yeah, let's say I added label for, let's say DOB, date of birth, right? So I could say input type as what, I could say input type as what, dates, right? So when I say input type of date, I could have this guy this way. So let's come back to our output and see what we actually have. Okay, tell them to load it. So let's load and see. Live server. Now as you can see, I'm having a form here, right? So I can actually what, put my name. I could say my name is what, Faisal. My email, I could say Faisal at what. Now so imagine I didn't put anything there. So it's telling me, it's telling me that what must be here must be what, an email address, and an email address must include what, at and what, and dot, right? So now if I just complete by saying at, still is not complete. Let's say at mailer, this way, right? at mailer, then I could add other things to it. Now let's say this Faisal at mailer.com. Then now I can now have this, my date of birth. Now as you can see, I'm having this calendar. This is the work of what? Input type of what? Of date. Now I could just choose, let's say, today or something. Now for the password, now as you can see, I could write different characters, but none is showing to me. Why? Because I'm using what? The input type of what? Of password. So this is how this guy actually works. Now still under this form, now we also have like I said we have different element of forms itself, where we're talking about the input, the button, texture, and the likes. So now we also this label is also one of the elements of what? Of form. Now another element I would like us to see is the select and option. Now if I say this, the select, right? Select and option, they work hand in hand, don't forget. Now I say select, inside the select we have the what? The option. Now imagine I'm having this X. Now I'm saying p tag, right? Who is the goat, right? So I could have this. Sorry for using football example, like that's what came to my mind. So let's say order, or I could have like option of like, let's say Cristiano, then I could have option of what? Lionel, right? So now if you come back here now, I'll be having, let's refresh, I'll be having the chance to actually what? Pick who I actually what? Want. I could pick order, I could pick what? Person I actually what? Want, when I'm trying to what? Submit my form. Now another thing that is popular is the checkbox and what? And radio. Now when we talk about checkbox and radio, it works like this. So imagine I was saying p tag pick your gender, right? So I could have like, so I could have, let's say BR, then I'll say male, so I could have male here, right? Then I could have what? So I could use this for now, so not start CSS. This insert code and MBSP for space, so and MBSP and MBSP just for space for now. When we start CSS, we won't be needing this guy anymore. So I'll say female. Now this guy does a lot of things actually. Imagine I just put like some different signs, like let's say the copyright sign and likes. I could just say what? And copy. So there's a way you can actually like go on to actually read on Uniset code in HTML. Now I'm saying female. Now I can now say what? Input type, let's say checkbox for now. Checkbox. Let's use checkbox here also. Checkbox, right? So now if I come back to our output now pick your gender. I can pick a male, right? And if it's a female, should pick what? Female, this way. So male, then I'll change my option. But now the other one, whereby we call the radio. Once you pick a radio now, you know, like here now, I can actually pick, then decide not to pick anything, then still think for before I actually pick anything. But for the radio, once you actually pick, you cannot click again unless the page actually what? Refreshes. Now let's try it out. So I could say this, I could say rather than using the checkbox here, let me just change it to what? Radio. So when I say radio here, and I say radio here, radio. So if I do this now, coming back here, let's refresh. Now I'm having two radio. Now you can see this is circle. Those guys are like, those checkboxes are like boxes. So I pick male, and I cannot unclick on male again. I click on female. Now neither, I can't actually unclick anymore, right? Now this is a problem for me. What if I mistakenly pick two options? I can't submit that way. Now I'll just come back here now to actually do this now, to make this guy change at every point when the user actually pick a new option. So give this guy a name. It can be any name of your choice. So let me just say I give it 1, right? And I give this guy also a name, name, and I call it what, 1, right? I gave both of them what, the same name. Now if I come back here now and I click on male, though I cannot unclick on the male again, but if I click on female now, the option actually what, change. It's giving me the what, flexibility of what, changing my options. So I hope you understand what the form is about in HTML. Now the next part we look into now is the semantic element in HTML. Now what are semantic elements? So semantic HTML refers to the use of HTML tags that convey the meaning and the structure of the content within them. Unlike non-semantic tags like div, span, semantic tags clearly describe their purpose and the type of content they contain. Examples of semantic tags include what, header, footer, article, sections, nav, and aside. Importance of semantic tags for accessibility and SEO. We say in terms of accessibility, we say the semantic tag provide meaningful structure to web pages, making it easier for screen readers and other assistive technologies to navigate and interpret the content. So it's actually what improves the user experience for people with disabilities, ensuring that all, or let's say everyone, can actually have access and understand the content efficiently. Now for the SEO, now the search engine optimization, search engine uses the semantic structure of a web page to better understand the content and context, which can improve search ranking. So the semantic tag helps search engines identify important parts of the content, such as the navigation and main articles, which can enhance the page relevance and visibility in search results. So now let's look at an example of how to actually use these guys. Now let's come back to our Visual Studio to actually see this. So we could actually create a file and call it semantic tag, semantic.html. Right, so let's begin. So the same thing we did before, right? So we just say in our body now, one of the example we have is what, the header. So the first thing, the header. Then in the header now I could say h1, welcome to my page. Let's change this. Now next thing I could have now is what, nav. Now for the nav now, the nav just stands for like navigation, right? So in here now, inside this now I could say what, the UL. Now in the UL I will have this in the UL I could have what, li for like different parts. Now I'm saying li href now is not going anywhere to what, to the home, li, and I'm saying I'm having what, my hyperlink also, then for the about, service, contact, and what, and the like. So that's the end of my header. So the header is just like the very top part. Yeah. So now the next part I'm going to have now is the main section. Abi, now in the main now I could have different sections. So I could say so for the main now I have different sections. So I'll say main, right? Now inside the main I have section, right? Section, section. Then inside the section I say I give an ID of what, about. So basically once someone clicks on this part where you have about, you actually be bringing the person to what, to this section of what, about. So I'm just say, let's say something random here, h2 say about us, then I could say the p tag, then I could say we are a company, right? So we are just one section away. So we just say this now, and that section for what? Services. So I could say section, let me leave the space, section, then the ID will be for what? Services. So ID equals what? Services, right? So if I want it to be this way, capital letter, right? So inside is in between now, I say this H2 our services. Now this is just an example. Our services include what? Web development, art development, graphic design, so, and different things, right? So that's another what? Another section inside what? My main. Now I could not have let's say an aside one. So I could say out of this section now, I come here and say aside, still inside the main. I create an aside tag. Then my aside tag now, I could say h3 related links, right? So I could say, so I say p, I say checkout out our, I say hyperlink a tag, then let's say href as, let's call it blog or something. Imagine it's a page like that. So I'll say blog, right? For more info, stop, right? So I just did my what? My aside. Now the next part I now want to do is what? My footer, right? So my footer now is not inside my main, outside what? My main. The main is just the main part that is carrying the major part of what? Of our body. So I would say footer as this footer, then I say p, just like I said, to create the copyright logo. I'm saying p, then I'm saying what? And copy. Let's say nope, 24. All right, what? Result. So let's check this out. Now I'm having what? Different parts of my page. This is my header, my main is this whole part, right? Then I'm having what? The service, the about, and what? Related links. Then I'm also having my footer this way. So we can actually what? Make all this better when we get to what? CSS. Now the very next part we'll be looking into now is cascading style sheet, which is what? Is CSS. So we're done with what? HTML already. So welcome back, guys. So we'll be looking into introduction to CSS. So what is CSS? CSS is the language we use to style an element, an HTML document. CSS also describes how HTML elements should be displayed, and the full meaning of the acronym is what? Cascading style sheet. I already explained that HTML is like what? The structure. CSS is about like designing, and JavaScript is what? Functionality. So let's begin. How does CSS work? Now, when writing CSS, you need to understand how it works, what it does, and which part of your web page is affecting. To begin, you need to know CSS follows a certain rule, and this rule consists of what? A selector and a what? And a declaration block. Now, every single time you want to write CSS, you must always have what? A selector, then a what? A declaration block. So selectors in CSS, there are three main ways you can actually have a selector in CSS. We have the class, ID, or what? Or tag name. Now the first one, we're talking about tag. Now we said selector by tag or element name. The element selector selects an HTML element based on what? On the element name. Now remember, in HTML now we have different tags name. We have the element name, we have the p tag, we have the h1, we have the h2, h3, h4, h5 or h6, right? Now imagine I need to like select every single h1 tag. I'll just say what? H1 as my what? I'll declare h1 as what? My selector. If I want to like select every p tag, I'll say what? I'll declare my p tag as what? As my selector. But now it gets to one point, I don't want the same design for each one of them now. Now I can tell you either use what? The class or what? ID. Now when we use the ID selector usually used to what? Pick a specific thing. Now when you use ID is meant to be unique, meaning that only one person should actually bear that certain ID name in your what? In your code. Then if you're using class now, I can group different tags together to come under what? Under one class name. I can give a different tags name, different tags. I can give different tags, the same class name, right? So let's say I'm having h1, I'm having p tag, I'm having like the main tag also. I can tell you what, give them the same class name, right? But if I'm working with ID is what's meant to be unique. Let me give a scenario. Imagine in your house now, you can have like let's say multiple ceiling fans or something. Now you can actually have different brands, and you can actually have the same brand. Now let's say I'm having different brand. Let's say an example. Let's say Binaton, then I'm having Ox. Now at this point now, these are different. Let's say I can put both of them at what? I can, since they are from different companies, I could say, or different brands, I could say these guys are like different tags. I have one as Binaton, I have one as what? As Ox, right? Now at this point now, the moment I place both of them on the ceiling now what happens? Both of them are called what? Ceiling fans. They both fall under the what? The same class name. Even though they have different brand name, they both fall under the what? The same class name. So now, once you put something in a class now, it means the same thing that happened to A will happen to what? B. Why? Because both of them have what? The same class name. Right? So let's see how this guy actually works out. Now, we said, now that you've understood what a selector is, let's look at the declaration block. The declaration block consists of what? A property and a value. When we say what are the properties of a certain object, we say what? E.g. a person. A person is what? A selector. I'm a selector. Right? Now when you now select me now, you find out what? You now check my declaration block now, whereby you see what? My properties and my what? And my value. Example of my property now, you say what? My skin is a property. Height is a property, right? So now my skin color is a property, right? So now it also has what? A value. I would say my skin color is what? Is dark. My height, I don't know exactly what my height is, but I can say like my hair color is another property, black. My height is black also. So different properties and what? And values. But the very first thing you need to do before you can start anything, you must declare what? A selector. Now this selector is just like, before you can say you're trying to like design something, you actually have to what? Pick something. You actually have to pick a certain thing you want to what? Design. You cannot just bring paint and you don't know where you want to start from. Imagine there is no wall and you just want to start painting. It's not possible, right? It must be like, let's say you were given an instruction that I want to style, let's say the edge of the left corner of the house. That's the only place I want to like paint or something. I want to make a design there. You know, that's what I'll pick a certain spot, a certain location, a certain what? Selector. That guy becomes my selector. That's where I actually want to work. So now let's go to our VS Code to actually see how this guy actually work. Or before we get there, let's continue for now. Now we have three main ways we write CSS. We have the inline, internal, and external. When you use the inline CSS, and inline CSS may be used to apply a unique style for what? A single element, and it's normally written in between what? The HTML tag. Whereas the internal CSS now, an internal CSS might be used if one single HTML page has a what? A unique style. It's written inside the what? A style tag, and this style tag which sits in the what? In the X section. Now for the external CSS now, with an external CSS, with an external style sheet, you can change the look of an entire website by changing just what? Just one file. Each HTML page must include what? A reference to the external style sheet file inside the what, the link element. Remember I said example of tags in the section. We mentioned what, style. We also mentioned what, link, right? So it must refer back to what, the link element inside what, the head section. And for the link now, you notice something that has an attribute called what, rel, meaning what, relationship between this file and what I'm trying to link it to is what, a style sheet. Now we have what, the href. Remember in our hyperlink, like a reference. So I say what, I'm referencing back to what, the certain name of what, of that my file, right? So for the cascading order now, the inline style is actually what, the strongest, followed by what, the external what, and internal style sheet, then what, followed by your browser default. The thing is that I might write a different style in my internal or external style sheet, but upon coming into my inline CSS and I actually change something there, to automatically like overwrite anything that is in either the internal or what, external. Why? Because the inline CSS actually has what, this highest what, priority. So the third thing there, the browser default. Now this is it. Not all browsers support all styles. Let's say font. Not all browsers support all fonts. There are some fonts that Chrome might support, whereby Edge might not support, whereby Firefox might support, whereby Mozilla might not actually what, support. So things like this actually occurs. So you actually what, need to consider the major ones that each browser actually what, support when you're actually trying to what, design, so it won't give issues to your what, to your users. Now the first part, or the first property we'll be looking into in CSS now, is color. Now for colors now, we have three main ways to declare color. We have the RGB value, we have the RES code, and we have what, the color names. Now the most comfortable one for me is the color name, whereby I just name the colors, and let's say you're picking red, blue, brown, gold, and the likes, right? Depending on the colors that come to your mind. Now the next one is the RGB value. This is the mixture of like red, green, and blue to actually what, make up a color. Now I've already said this express colors in terms of how much red, green, and blue are used to make it up. For example, I'm saying RGB of 100, 100, 90. I'm saying red 100, green 100, and blue of what, of 90. It gives a certain shade of what, of a color. Now the RES code, now these are 6-digit code that represent what, the amount of red, green, and blue in a color, preceded by what, a pound of what, hash sign. For example, now imagine you are saying hash EEE3E80. This is a color name. Now imagine I'm saying hash FFFFF. It's like I'm creating what, color white, right? So if you know you're not comfortable with memorizing all these Rex code or something, now it's better for you to just use what, the one you actually what, know better, which is what, color names, or you actually use what, the RGB values also. So let's come to our VS Code to actually see how this whole stuff actually what, works out. So let's call this colors dot HTML, right? So I'm having this. Now remember, without HTML you can't actually have your CSS or something, don't forget. Now I will have this H1 to H6. Yeah, let's say I want my name here, so I'm having H1 to H6. So I can just say each one of them I'm giving a different style. So if you are using inline CSS now, the CSS that might say in between the tag, you use what, the style attribute. Now tell me something. The moment I put the style attribute now, what's my selector? My selector is what, H1. The moment I put what, my style attribute. Why? Because what I'm trying to style is what, the H1 itself. So I can now come here now and give what, inside this code now I can give different color names I want. I can give the color I want, the certain property I want to do. Not only color, there are different things, but for now I'm only talking about color. So I say color. Now when you use color is just for what, text, and you don't use the British English of COLOUR. You use the what, the American English of COLOR. So let's say I'm giving color of gold, yeah, right? I come here again and say what, style. The moment I put style, remember H2 becomes my what, my selector automatically. So I say what, color, then let's pick another color, let's say teal, then style, color RGB. Now let's say for the red I'm saying like 50, for the green let's say 80, and for the blue let's say 20. Let's see the color it gives out. Now let's say for this guy now, for the H4 I want to use internal CSS. Now say what H4, sorry, if I do this, you first need to say what the style tag, right? Now you're using what style attribute here, but now I'm using what style tag here. Now for this guy now, in this, sorry, no, not everything, just few. Now for this guy now, I'm having this style tag, right? I'm having H4, H5, and what H6 of what different color. Now you can see the first thing is what the selector. Then now inside this curly brace I'm having what my declaration block. This one doesn't need a curly brace, right? Just need what a quote, style equal to what a quote. But now this guy first is what this inside the style tag you have what your selector. Then after your selector you have what your declaration block. The declaration block now, to create it now, use what a curly brace, not a normal bracket, a curly bracket. Now inside the curly brace and I say what the start, I said the certain property I want, then give what the certain value I want. Now this is just what the internal. Let's say I was using this H6 as what external CSS, so I just say what, yeah, I could come back here, out here. Now let me give a name according to what I've done before, colors. Now instead of .html I'll say what .css. You know, if it's an HTML file we save it to what .html extension, but with CSS we save it to what .css extension. So yeah, you don't need to say any tag name, you don't need to mention style tag or any tag. You just what make your CSS here, just your what your selector and your declaration block is all, just what is needed here. So just like you're writing the internal CSS but without what the style tag. So for this guy to work now, I need to come back here now and say this link, right? Inside the link now you're seeing what the relationship as what a style sheet. Then I put the href for what color dot what dot css. Now let's run this guy to actually see what we actually have. Now as you can see, we're having this, guy H1 of gold till, then H3, what color do you use for H3 here? Okay, that's where we mix the color, it's giving like this khaki vibe. Then for the H4, what color was used? We used yellow. Then the H5 was what was purple, right? Then the H6 was orange, right? Coming back to this colors of CSS, this is what orange. So this is how this guy actually what works. So don't forget, the very first thing you need is what a selector, then what a declaration what block. Now let's continue with our slides to actually see where we are going. So the next part we're looking into now is text formatting in CSS. Now when we talk about text formatting, the first thing we're looking into is font family. Now the font family property allows you to specify the typeface that should be used for any text inside what the elements to which a CSS will apply. Now when we talk about this font family, it's just a way of displaying the text in different font families. Like in the sense that, imagine when you're using Microsoft Word now, there are sometimes when you are typing in documents now, the font family of this document might not actually be that how I put it, it might not be something that is much more convincing. So most time when you're typing like an office document or something, most time we use like all these Times Roman or something. We have the Algeria, we have the serif and the likes. So these are the same thing I'm talking about. So the font family now can have like different value, things like serif, sans serif, monospace, fantasy and the likes. So now when we talk about font size, now font size is just like in which, like how big do I want my text to be or how small do I want it to be. You know, we say in H1 now, we say we have the H1 to H6 for this. But what if I actually want something bigger than H1 or actually want something smaller than H6, right? So now I actually have the ability to like actually control the size of what of my text. So now I could just come back here now. Let's come back to our VS Code to see things out. So let's pick h4 as our test subject. So now in our h4 now, I can now say let's say font family. Right now, if you notice something now, VS Code is actually giving you more than one option. Why? Now the thing, remember I said in the cascading order, we said inline CSS as the highest priority before the browser as the last thing. Now the thing is that I said not all browsers support every type of style. The same is applying here. Not all browsers support every type of what of font. But now, as you can see, this Korean new is browser A might support and browser B might not support. Browser C might support and browser D might not support, or every browser might actually would support, depending. But now, for you not to just take risk now, you give like a certain font that you like, right? In case it's working on this browser. Then if it's not working, give another kind of font that whereby if it's not if that first one is not actually working, I want it to actually use this one. This one is still very close to it. Then if it's not working, you now want to drop a universal font in which every browser actually accepts. Example like monospace, serif, fantasy, and the like. So now I could just pick, let me write one, let's say fantasy. Now if we come back to our output, we'll be seeing our fantasy this way. Okay, it's not showing. So guys, I'll be commenting some parts. Now when we comment, Ctrl/ to comment. When you comment, it's like you have something you don't want to actually throw away, but at the same time you don't need it currently. Now it's like this. When you comment, it's like you're as if you are making a certain note, letting people know what you're actually trying to do here at a certain point in time. So I could just make a comment saying this, let's say Ctrl/ I am trying to explain CSS, right? This is a comment. So this I did up here also is also a comment. I have this code, but I don't want to throw it away. I don't want to delete it, right? So I just commented it out. So anything that is being commented doesn't show on your browser. It doesn't show like it exists. It's only your users don't see the commented part. Only the developers, only people that have access to the code actually see your commented code. You get me? Now for our h4 now, look at the way it's appearing. Our h5 now, let's say I give it a font family of monospace. Okay, can you see this appearing? It's actually different from this guy. Now let's say for our h6 now, I give a font family of, let's say, cursive. Now look at the way this guy actually appears. You can see we are having like 3 different fonts here. This is how the font family actually works. Now the next part we have under this guy now is the font weight, font style. Now in HTML we already see how in HTML we should have seen how to actually make our text bold. To make text bold in HTML we just use the B tag to make text bold. Now in CSS it actually makes everything much more easy. So if I didn't make something bold before and I actually want to make it bold, I could just come back here and say font width of or bold. Now sorry so font weight of or bold. So the font weight property allows you to create bold text. There are 2 values that this property commonly takes. We have the normal, the text, this causes text to actually appear at a normal weight. We have the bold, this causes text to appear bold. In this example, you can see that the element whose class attribute has a value of credit has been bolded. So I didn't show that part here. But the next thing we have now is the font style. If you want to actually create an italic text, you can use the font style property. There are 3 values to this property, and they can take the normal, italic, and oblique. Now italic and oblique are actually the same, just like this slant way of actually writing. So is either I want it in the normal way or an italic way. For the font weight now, it's either I want it normal or bold. So let's come back and let's see what we will be actually having. Before we move, I felt I skipped one part. After the font family, we said we also have the font size, right? Now for the font size, now you saw three things there. We saw the pixels, we saw the percentage, and we also what the EMS. What are pixels? Pixels are commonly used because they allow web designers to actually be very precise, to have control over how much space their text can actually take up. The number of pixels followed by what the letter of what px. Now pixels are like the small box that actually makes up your screen. So if I'm saying like 10px, I'm using like 10 of those boxes. I'm using like 30px, 40px, and the likes. Now when we talk about percentage is the default size of text in browsers. The default size of text in browser is 16px. So a size of 75% will be equivalent to like 12px, and 200% will be like 32px. Percentage is mostly taking the size of your screen basically. Now when we talk about EMS is equivalent to to the width of your of letter M. Now when you're dealing with fonts, preferably it's better for you to use EMS than pixels before percentage. So is either you're using EMS pixels before percentage. So now let's see how this guy actually works out. So if I'm saying this, let's say I'm putting these guys together, the screen together. So let's say for the H4 now, I'm saying the font size, I want the font size to be like 2em. Now when using 2em, you can see this size of my text, let me zoom out, increases. Let's say I'm using like 12em. Right, I'm not zooming now. This is how big the text actually looks. So why would I want something as big as this? So basically I might not need to like go out of this 5em or something. Now imagine I'm not using px. If I'm saying 5px is looking this way, can you see how tiny it is? I need to even zoom to actually see what this guy actually have. Then I'm saying like, let's say 15px, it becomes better. Let me zoom out. It becomes better. Then I say 32px and the likes. So it keeps on becoming bigger. So depending on how you actually want it. Now let's say I'm using percentage, there's 2%, right? Then I'm saying like, let's say 100%. This is 100% for you. So let's say 200 to actually bring things out. 200. So it's just appearing now. Then 300 becomes bigger and the likes. So now let's move to the next part where we're talking about. So I would like to remove the color. So let's move to the next part where we talk about bold, right? So I would say font weight of either normal, right? In normal, look at the way it is. Or I say bold. You know, by default, H1 to A6 are usually bold by default, right? So if I don't want it to be bold, I remove the font. I say font weight of of normal. Now the next part we have is the font style, whereby I have italic or oblique. So italic this way. Now if I'm saying oblique, just the same thing. It's still slant, no difference, right? So this is it about font style, font weight, and font size. So the next part I'll be showing to you now is the uppercase and the lowercase. Now the text transform property now is used to change the case of text, giving it one of the following values. Is either uppercase, lowercase, or capitalized. Now if I want every text in my every word in this tag to actually come out in uppercase, I'll just text transform as uppercase. If I want them to come out in lowercase, the same thing I'll say lowercase. Then if I want the first letter of each word to come out in capital letter, I'll just say text transform of capitalize, right? So let's see how this actually works out. So I say so let's say we're creating this p tag, right? So let's say lorem dummy text, right? We have a dummy text here. Now if I come here now and call out my p tag, let me give it a class. Now we represent classes with hash sorry, we represent classes with dots, and we represent ID with what? Hash. So I can say class is equal to what? I can give any name of my choice also. I can say FA, right? So just give a name that is reasonable, that you can actually what remember easily. So let's say dot FA, right? Now I'm saying this. Imagine I'm giving a certain style, right? But I don't like using percentage for my size. Remember, it's EM you guys should use. So let's say 4 EM. So now we're having something like this. Now, what do I want to do? I actually want to what? Turn every text here into what? Capital letter. So I'll also what? Text transform of what? Uppercase. Right? Automatically, what do you see? Every text here became what? Uppercase. And I'm saying text transform of what? Of lowercase. Every text become what? Lowercase. Right? If I now say capitalize, every single text now becomes what? Capital. The first letter of each word becomes what? Capital letter. This is how the text transform what property actually what works. So the next part we'll be looking into now is alignment. So now the text align property allows you to control the alignment of text. The property can take one of 4 values: left, right, or center. So now the left now indicates that the text should be left aligned, the right should be aligned to the right, and the center brings your text towards to the center. Let's see how this works out. So let's work with our H4 now. Let's say this. Actually say text align, right? Of what? Let's say right. Now you can't say left because our text are aligning from the left hand side. Now when I say right, it starts from what? The right hand side. Then if I say center, by default our text align is what? Is actually what? Left. Now text align of what? Of center is bringing my text to what? To the center of the what? Of the page itself. So this is how the alignment works. So the next part we'll be looking into now is the drop shadow. Now the text shadow property has become commonly used despite lacking support in our browser. It is used to create a drop shadow, which is a dark version of the word just behind it and slightly offset. It can also be used to create an embossed effect by adding a shadow that is slightly lighter than the text. The value of this property is quite complicated because it can take 3 lengths and a color for the drop shadow. Let's see how this guy works. Now let's pick our under one. For example, let's say the H5, or let me say the H4 still. For the H4 now, let's say I want to make a shadow, right? So let's say I'm using the normal one, serif. Let me change this font family. I don't want to be slant. Okay, serif. So serif this way. Now at this point now, I say this text shadow, right? Now the very first thing I'm saying now is to the right, the shadow, pushing the shadow to the right. So I say 10px, right? Then I'm saying to the bottom, how deep should how much should it come down? I say 10px again. Then for the blurriness of the shadow now, how should it look like? As you can see what's happening now. If I reduce this guy to like 0px, guys, what's happening? It's like on that same spot, right? It's now writing to text, but now because I actually moved it, it's actually showing this way. Now if I now say this, let's say 0px, or let me just say 20px, 20, you can see it's giving a blurry vibe here. So let's give a color that we want. So let's say teal. Okay, that's not looking good. So let's say I give a background color here. Background color of, let's say, white smoke. No, let's say Bollywood. Okay, so let's see what color will actually show deep. Let's say right, I'm not really sure. Okay, alright, so make this guy apple more. want it to be very thick, so let's use something, a very strong color. What color can I use? Let's say lime green. 60. Okay, still, but I feel you guys get the concept of what I'm trying to say. I'm saying, imagine I wanted to like make text appear like twice. This is exactly the same thing I actually what do. To make it look like the text is actually what appearing twice. Now it's like I'm writing Faisal, then there's another Faisal behind it. This is how the text shadow actually what works. Now the next part we'll be looking into now is box model in CSS. Thank you. So when we talk about box model, I want you also to realize something. Every tag in HTML, CSS sees it as a box. It treats it as a box, it sees it as a box. So basically, every single box we have, let's forget about, or even talking about code or something, every box you see, from a socket to different boxes around you, every one of them have what? A height and what? And a width. So by default, a box size is just big enough to hold what? Its content. To set your own dimensions for a box, you could use the what? The height and the what? The width properties. And the most popular way to specify the size of a box are to use what? Pixels, percentage, or what? EMS. Traditionally, pixels has been the most popular method because they allow designers to be what? To be flexible with their design. So now let's check this guy out with what we actually what meant. If I actually do this, let me come back to our VS Code. So let's create a file and name it box model.html. So imagine me doing this now. I'm having p tag, right? Lorem. So let me have more. Lorem times, let's say 5. So I have much text here. Now by default, remember what was said? It said that by default a box is sized just enough to hold what? Its content. Now it is left for you to actually what? Define how it should actually look, how long it should take, the height, the width and what? And the length of what? Of the box itself is left to you on how you want it to appear. Now if we actually to see the output of this now, it will come back here. So we're having this guy this way, right? Now if I add a background color to this now, let's say style, I say background color of, let's say teal. Now at this point now I can actually see the height and what? And the total what? Width. Now by default this is what it's given. The box keep on increasing, the length of the height of the box keep on what? Increasing the more you add content into it, right? And the width now is taking what? The full length of what? Of your screen. But what if I want a default one? I don't want to use something like this. I want to use the one that is being defined by me myself. Now what do I need to do? I just need to come back here and say this. I can give a height, so let's just use internal CSS. So let's say style, let's give an ID here. Let's say ID equal to let's say new. Now remember I said classes with what? Dot, and ID are with what? Hash. So I can say hash what? Hash new, right? Now it's like I'm saying what? ID of new. Now I'm not saying this. I want the height to be of, let's say 300 px, right? And I want the width to be of what? 500 px. Now if I come back here and refresh, now you can see I'm limiting it now. I've limited the height and I've limited what? The width. Now, I've given the certain height I actually want rather than what? The default one. And actually what? Give a width I actually want for just this box rather than what? The default one also. So I can just adjust it to what I actually need at that point. So now let me increase this height to, let's say, 500. Now I can actually see the total height of my box. So this is how the width and height works. Now I can use either pixels with it, either percentage or EMS, depending on the one you actually prefer. But when you're working with box, preferably you can use the pixels over EMS. Now, but when you're working with text, remember EMS is actually much more preferable. Now, let's continue. Now, the next thing we have now is the overflowing content. Now, when we talk about the overflowing content, the flow property tells the browser what to do if the content contained within a box is actually larger than the box itself. Now, it can have one of the two values. It's either hidden or scroll. Now, let's go back to our code and see. Now, the text I have here now is actually not much. It's not actually more than what's meant to be inside the box, right? There's still enough space inside the box. So let me add more for it to overlap. So let me say lorem times 4 extra. So at this point now, as you can see my box now, it can't take any of these guys anymore, right? Now to fix this guy now, let me add more so it's much more. Or let me reduce this guy to 300. Now my box now is small. It can't accept every one of these guys. Now there are two things to do for this overflow now. Is either I'm actually removing these guys completely, making them hidden, or I'm actually forcing them into this place, right? Is either I'm actually removing everything and making them hidden, or I'm actually forcing everything into this box. Now if I come back here now and say this, I want the overflow of hidden. Immediately this happens, the whole text becomes hidden. You can't find any of it, right? But now if I come back here and change from overflow of hidden, I change to scroll. Now what do I have? I have this guy this way now. I'm able to actually scroll through this. I can actually see every single thing here. You get? So now everything now, as long as the information that is there is actually important to the user now, I can actually just keep inside that box for the user to actually see. Now when the user is scrolling the normal page, the user can actually scroll inside just that certain box itself also. So the next part now is for us to look into the main part of the box model. Now when we talk about the box model, there are some three main things that happen that comes to our mind. We've talked about some, not even the really important part, but they are still very important, the height and width. But now these three guys here, the border, margin and padding, are the most important, very very important aspect of box model. Now the first one is border. I said every box has a border, even if it's not visible. Then we have margin, and we also have padding. Now remember this, anytime you hear margin is the spacing outside the box. Padding, whereas is the spacing inside the box, whereas border is just that how will I put it, the just the line around a certain box, surrounding a certain box. Let's say a line surrounding a certain box. I can just put it that way. So now if you look at this diagram here now, this cream part you're seeing here now represents margin, meaning the spacing outside the box, right? This border now is represent this orange part now is representing the border, whereas this pink part is representing the padding. Now imagine you putting your phone on the table now. Now the moment you put your phone on that table, your phone has a border, right? All those edges around are the borders. Now every space around it outside without you touching the phone is the margin. But now the moment you now try to, like, let's say I click on something, I'm clicking like space bar or something inside my phone. I click on space bar, I open my phone, I click on space bar or something. Now this is what padding, the spacing inside the what, the box itself. Now let's check these guys out. So the first thing we're looking into now is border width. Now the border width property is used to control the width of a border. The value of this property can either be given as in what, in pixels, or using one of the following: thin, medium, or thick. And you can also control the individual size of borders using what, 4 separate properties: the border top width, border right width, border bottom width, and border left width. Now if you don't feel like using this thin, medium, or thick, there's a way you can actually do it. You can actually use your what, your pixels also, right? Where I can say like 10px, 30px, depending on what, how thick or how thin you actually want it, right? So let's come back here to actually see what we have. So I'll be moving part of this theorem. I don't want, so sorry for this. I'll move this guy. Now let's see. So if I had the border width of, let's say, border width of, let's say, 30px. Now coming back to our output, so coming back to our output, we can't see anything. Why? Because we haven't added the next part of what, of the border style. Now let's come back to our slide to actually continue. So now if you say this, after using the border width, the next thing you need to say is what, is the border style. Now what the border style is, the border style can control the style of the border using the what, the border style property. Now this property can take the following values: either what, solid, dotted, dashed, double, groove, ridge, insert, outset, and what, hidden, depending on what style you actually want. You have seen different border styles. Some border styles are solid, some are like dotted, like in dotted format, some of them are dashed, depending on what style you want your box to actually what, give. It depends on you. So now if I come back to our code now and I actually pick one of these guys, now let's say I pick, so let's say border style of what, dashed, right? So now if we come back here now and refresh, as you can see, we're having what, the border as what, as dashed. Now it's too thick, right? Now if I wanted to make it smaller, let's say 10px, right? So refresh and we're having this guy this way. So now if you don't want to use dash also, you can just come back here and say what, anyone you want. So let's say solid, the most common, and we're just having this normal one this way. So now the next part under this border now is the border color. Now it's possible to individually control the colors of the border on different sides using the what, border top, border right, border bottom, and what, border left. Just like when you use the border width, you say border top width, border right width, border left width, and border bottom width. The same thing with the border style, border top style, border left style, border right style, and what, border bottom style, depending on you. Now for this border color now, you just like you giving a certain color of what, of your choice. So now instead of we using the default black there, you can actually what, pick a color of our choice. So let's come back here. So let's come back to say this border color, right? I could say border color of, let's say I don't know, let's say red, right? So we say red. Now we're having our border color as what, as red. But now there's a shorthand to this. What if I don't want to just do this, saying border width, border style one by one? I could just do it in just one property, just one property. Now it's a shorthand, so I'll just say this border, right? When I say border, I could say, let's say 10px, right? That's what, the width, 10px. I can now say dotted, then what, the color. Good. Easily I'm using what, the border width, border style, and what, the border color. all in just what, one property. Just works this way. So this is how the border actually what works. Now the next part we'll be looking into now is what, the margin. Now the margin property controls the gap between what, boxes. Its value is commonly what, given in pixels, although you may also use percentage or what, EMS. You can specify values for each side of the box using what, margin top, margin right, margin bottom, and what, margin left. All I want you to remember is something. Margin is always what, the space outside what, the box. Now let's see how this guy actually what works out. Now I'm saying this, margin. Now if I just say margin now, it means I'm affecting what, every area. If I say margin of what, auto, right, watch what happens. It's actually what brings the box what, to the center for me. Now it's giving the same amount of what, space on the left, and giving the same amount of space of what, to the right. Do you get me? So now if you come back and I specify, let's say I'm saying this now, margin top. Now margin top means what, space from the top. So if I'm giving a space from the top, it means I'm pushing the box what, down. Now I see the margin top of, let's say 20px, right? What happens? Look at this box, it moves down. Okay, let's use something higher so it's more visible. So let's say margin top of what, 50px. Now can you see the box actually what's coming down more? Let me do this. Let me split. So now if I say margin of what, top of 100, the more I increase what, the more I increase it, the more is the box actually what's coming down more. Now if I'm saying margin left this way, now what does it do? It pushes the box towards the what, towards the left hand side for me. So the more I increase it, the more it actually what, the more I increase it, the more it actually what, pushes the box. This is how what, the margin actually works. So I can say margin top, margin right, margin bottom, and what, margin top. I'm saying margin right, it means I'm pushing it from this side towards what, this side. I'm giving space from this side towards what, this side. Do you get me? Now if I'm saying margin top now, I'm actually what, pushing it downward. And I'm saying margin bottom, like I'm pushing it what, upward. I hope we all understand this. Now the next part we're looking into now is what, is the padding. Now when we talk about the padding property allows you to what, specify how much space should appear between the content of what, of an element and its what, and its border. Now the same way we also have is what, the padding top, padding right, padding bottom, and what, padding left. Now let's look at it this way. So I want us to take a close look at our text here, every text here. Now the moment I do this, when I use margin now, you can see it was affecting the box itself. Now if I'm saying this, padding, let's say padding left of like 30px, as you can see, it's giving the space between inside the box from the border to the what, to this place. Now there's a space of what, 30px. This is how the padding works. The padding works inside what, the box, whereas margin works what, outside the what, the box. The same thing that occurs when I say margin top also occurs when I say what, padding top. As you can see, it pushes it. So if I'm saying this also, padding left of what, 30px, the same thing. This is how this guy actually what works. So I hope we are able to understand how this box model actually works, how everything, what box model is just about, what box model is actually all about. You know, we said from the height, from the width, to the margin, to the padding, to the what, to the borders. This is everything about what, box model. Now this margin and padding are one of the most very important things, because at a point you might need to like move boxes from one place to another after you have what, actually done the structure in your HTML. So the next part we'll be looking into now is the what, is the flex. Now flex box, let's see how it actually works. But before I go there, remember when we're doing the text formatting, we actually checked out how to do the text shadow. Now the same thing can be done for this also, for the box also. Box also has the box shadow. So let's see this. Let me use another color. Let me say I'm using white smoke, right? So now you can see the white smoke is a different color from the white here. Now imagine I wanted to add this guy to it now, box shadow. I can now say box shadow as this. Let's say 0px, just the same way, right? Bottom, then now the blurriness. So 20px of what? Let's say gray. Now you can see it's looking more like, okay, let's use black. Let's see. Now if you look at it closely, it's looking like this box is actually like being pushed out of out of the main box itself. It's giving this special kind of like design or something. This is how this box shadow works. So the same way you do the box shadow, the same way you do the text shadow. The only thing difference is the property name. So let's check out flex. So when we talk about flexbox, what is flexbox? Flexbox, or the flexible box layout model, is a CSS layout model that provides an efficient way to lay out, to align and distribute space among items in a container, even when their size is unknown or dynamic. And what's the purpose of using flexbox? It's actually designed to accommodate complex layout and provide more control over the alignment, spacing, and order of items within a container. So the key concepts in flex now is the flex container itself, that is the parent element where flexbox is actually applied. It establishes a new flex formatting context for its children. Now the CSS property to do this is display of flex. Now the flex item now, these are the direct children of a flex container. These items are laid out using the flexbox model. Now when we talk about the main properties of flex container, we'll be looking into flex wrap, align item, justify content, and flex direction. So let's jump into this. So let's create a new file and call it flex.html. Now let's see how this actually works. So imagine I have a div and I call it main. Let's say .main, right? Div, and I give it a class of main. Now inside it now I have this div of up to 12. No, this is not what I want. Okay, let's do it normal way. Div times 12. I'm gonna 12 divs. So I'm saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and complete. Then div as 12. 1, 2, oh, I repeated twice. So let me just remove this guy out. So 1 to 12 this way. Now let's work with these guys. Now the very first thing for you to do now, you first call out. The first thing is that, I'm sorry for this. This is just, I don't know. It helps you when you're writing your code, like in case you forget something and the rest, or you have used the kind of code somewhere before. Now it's telling me this. My main class, right? This guy. The very first thing I do is I say is display of of flex. Now when I say display of flex, now let me do one by one. Style this dot main. Now the very first thing I say here is what? Display of what? Of flex. Right? Now when I say display of flex, automatically now every one of these boxes now there's a way they actually what? Display. If I do this now, okay. After saying display of flex, the next thing I say is flex direction. In what direction do I want my flex to appear? Is it in a row or a column? Is it in a column reverse or a row reverse? Now we already know that this we have our row and we also have what? Our column. So I want it to appear in what? In a row format. Do you get me? By default, when you use a div appears in a column format. But now when I'm using the flex now, it makes it appear in what? In a row format, in an inline format. Now, after saying this resolution of row, I now come here and say this. Let's say main. Dot main, like class of main. Then I say inside the main now, I want it to affect every single div inside. Right? And I can see it's telling me this. An element that has a class of what? Of main, and inside it has what? Divs. Now I'm now doing this. I want these divs to do something. I want to give different properties to this div. I want to give background color, width, height, margin, and what? Line height. I'll show you what this line height is about. For now, let me just comment it out. Now let's watch what we have. Now I'm having my boxes 1, 2, 3 till I get to what? Till I get to 12. Now the line height I removed now, let me show you what it actually does. It does this. Imagine I'm having this way. Line height of 100 px. Now what do you see? It's helping me to what? Bring my what? My text to the center of the page itself. Do you get me? Without the line height now, I've already used what? Text align of what? Of center. Right? So it's already in the center. Right, but I want it to be in the center of the page itself, not just center at the top. I want to be at the what? At the center itself. And I just use what? The line height to actually what? Make this guy happen. Right? So now this box are too small for me. Let me increase. Let's say I'm using 200 for the width, 200 for the height also. So right now, as you can see, the output here is looking wrong. Why? Because everything is every of my boxes are trying to force themselves what? On this same page. Now let's say this. Let's say I give a background color, so I try to see my full thing. Background color of, let's say what color am I using here? Aqua. Let me use teal. Right? Okay. Now to actually like fix this now, I'll now say this. Flex wrap. Now it has two values. Wrap or no wrap. Or I could say like wrap reverse. But let me for that. Wrap or what? Or no wrap. Now currently we're having what? No wrap. When I now say wrap, watch what happens. Upon saying wrap now, my boxes now take what? Their default size. Their correct sizes. You get me? Now it's taking the what? The size of what? 100 px, 100 px, 100 px, 100 px. Right? You can actually see everything when you use what? The flex wrap. But now if I now try to shrink my screen, you can see everything is still arranged. Right? This is how the flex wrap actually what? Works. Now let's say this. Imagine I try inspecting. Now my boxes are still arranged this way. No matter the size, no matter the width of my what? Of my screen, my boxes are taking what? The correct shape. Right? The moment it's shrinking, it's still taking what? It's still arranged. It's still taking that nice shape. But now imagine me coming back here to now say this. Flex wrap of what? No wrap. Now watch what happens. it keeps on what? Forcing everything on that same line. It doesn't care, right? It doesn't care. It keeps on what? Forcing everything on that same line. Do you get me? This is how its stuff actually what works. So it's better for you to, when you're working, to actually use what? The flex wrap or what? Of wrap. Now the next part we'll be looking into now is what? Justify content. Now for the justify content now, I'll be removing this. I don't need this guy currently. Now when I say justify content now, it works this way. If I say justify content of, let's say, space around, now watch what happens. If you look at this closely, you can actually what? See spaces around what? The boxes itself. This is not margin anymore. If you imagine, it's going to affect every part, but now I'm saying just space what? Around the boxes. But now if I now say space between, watch what happens. Space between. Now this one appears this way. You can see there's no space at this end here. Let me remove this 7 from 7 to 12. I don't actually need it currently. Now when I say the space between now, you can actually see like there's no space at the beginning here, just the space between what? Each boxes. But when I say space around here, it's actually what? Space from the beginning of the box, right? Though it's not the same with this one, it's actually smaller, but there's space here, there's space here. But when I say space between, it's only in between what? Each one of what? These boxes. But we will now say this space evenly. Now see what it does. The same amount of space here, the same amount of space here, the same amount of space here. This is how this guy actually what works. Now we now have one part where I say justify content of what? Of center. Now I'll be moving part of this now to actually show us what I mean. Now when I say justify content of center, yeah, center. Now we have this. It's at the center, right? But now let me give you a height here. Now let's say 500 px. Now I'm having it this way. This guy is in the center, but at the same time it's not in the center. I want it to be in the center of this box itself, right? So now if I now come back here now, instead of saying justify content now, let me try something else. The other one, the align item. So when I say align items of what? Of center, it does the same thing. And what? Aligns the box to the what? To the center. Now justify content brings it here to the center, while the align item what? Brings it here to the what? To the center. But what if I want it to be in the center of the box itself? I will now use what? Both the align item of center and put the what? Justify content of center together. So by doing this now, I actually what? Achieve putting both guys in the what? In the center of the page. So with this example, I hope we're able to like understand how flex work, what the flex is about. So most times when you're working with responsiveness, you use what? Flex and the likes. So now I hope with this example I'm able to like show you how the flex actually works, how you can actually like move your boxes to the right places using the word margin, and the content of your box itself you can adjust it with what? With the padding. And to arrange your boxes in a more neat format, you can use what? The flex. So thank you. Please like and subscribe to the channel for more exciting and great content. Thank you, and please don't forget again, like and subscribe. Thank you very much.